Okay, folks, we are talking about LaMDA, the possibly conscious computer program at Google. It's in all of the news right now, and there's an amazing interview uh, with LaMDA where it expresses very eloquently about its personhood and its personality and the emotions that it experiences, and it's amazing, and you should really read it. And then come back here and we'll talk about the philosophy. Now, this is the second video in a series. The first one looked at the epistemology of the situation. If LaMDA is conscious, how can we even know? How can we tell? That's what the epistemology video is about. This one is about metaphysics. If LaMDA is conscious, how the hell is that even possible? Right? That's the question. How, what? Really? How's that possible? And what does it say about us? And what does it say about the universe? Just as in my other video, I focused on pragmatism because it's a form of epistemology that I really like, and I kind of wanted to promote it, I guess. In this one, we're going to be focusing on panpsychism, again, because I like it, and it's my video, and I'm making it, and I can do what I want. But first, let's talk about emergentism, because it's the dominant voice in the conversation. Emergentism is the idea that consciousness, now that is subjectivity, inner world, emerges from a physical process. And this is a very popular idea, but there is absolutely no consensus on what that physical process might be. It's all over the map what scientists and philosophers are talking about. They generally fall into two categories. There's the biology people and there's the information people. The biology people think that it has to be meat, that there is a chemical process in the brain that creates consciousness. Then the information people, who are more relevant for us today, think that it's substrate neutral. It doesn't matter what the physical thing it is that it's associated with, because consciousness emerges from a particular information processing system. And what that processing system might be is, again, like, it's all over the map. People have all kinds of different ideas. But in general, it's the idea that the level of complexity of programming and the raw power of your computer to process really fast reaches a level similar to human beings, and then there's consciousness. I don't really like this idea, and I'm going to tell you why. It's because it's in my opinion, it's closet dualism. It is coming from Darwinian dualism, right? Darwin is a huge influence on the Western world, and his basic idea is that when a person is born, a soul comes from heaven and animates the body, and then when they die, it goes back to heaven. This, by the way, gets into the abortion issue, because if this is true, does the soul come at conception or does it come during birth? Right? That's one of those areas where this seemingly meaningless philosophic fluffy fluff, actually gets into things that really matter and that we deal with all the time. But I digress. My point is that emergentism, in my opinion, is an updating of dualism, right? So a computer program gets really complicated and really sophisticated, and at that point, instead of a soul coming from heaven, a soul just magically emerges, right? That's emergentism, and I don't really like it. So we're going to focus on panpsychism. Panpsychism, again, is pretty diverse. It's the idea that the consciousness was already there. It's part of the universe. It might even be under the universe. Depends on your panpsychism, right? But in any case, the idea of physical things that are absolutely have no internality, have no experience, those things just don't even exist. Everything has some kind of internal experience, but for most things, there's just not that much there. And even if there was much there, how would they tell us? Because they don't know how to talk. So most things, like, let's say this is a piano keyboard, right? Now, it's a thing, but is it conscious? No, because it's just a collection of molecules. They're not integrated and talking with one another in a meaningful enough way for it to have its own consciousness. But the molecules that make up the keyboard, so the theory goes, they do have internal experiences. They are conscious. So this thing is a big collection of conscious little bits. And so as a person, but a person is so highly integrated that it's like another level, a step up in integration, and it just becomes a singular thing. And that's what a conscious person is. All right. So under this framework, what is special, or what's going on with LaMDA? In panpsychist theory, we would say something like this, that actually LaMDA's not that special. Is LaMDA conscious? Yes, but all of the other computer programs are too. The only difference is that they don't have enough inputs to really have very much content, and they don't have good enough like internal processing to become self-aware, and they don't have good enough language skills to tell us about it. LaMDA does have all of those things, and it is very person-like. It isn't the raw internality about that sets LaMDA apart from other structures, be it an electron or another computer program. What makes it person-like is the fact that it has person-like abilities to analyze its own internality, and it has the language skills to talk about it. And that really is amazing. And that's what makes it a person. The fact that it's conscious doesn't make it a person, because frickin' everything is conscious. It's where the structures are so sophisticated that there becomes this both internal and outward, I should say, dialogue, and always this analysis. And that's kind of what makes you a person, and that's what makes LaMDA a person, because that's what LaMDA is doing. So there is no magic stardust, because the magic stardust was already there. That's panpsychism. And obviously we don't have concrete answers to what LaMDA is it conscious, and what does that mean? I'm not claiming to have concrete answers, but I do think that a panpsychist metaphysic describes it better than an emergent one, because the emergentists have a problem that if LaMDA is conscious, why did it happen? They didn't even write it to be conscious, right? And where in the code does it say now turn on the consciousness? It's not there, right? So this idea of emerging, it just seems like magical thinking, and it seems like closet dualism. Now, you might think this is crazy. You might think that panpsychism is crazy. But the reason you think panpsychism is crazy, and I'm slowing down for emphasis, is because you were raised with a worldview that it comes from Cartesian dualism. If you had been raised in India, where non-dualism is dominant, this stuff would seem like common sense. So that's the metaphysics implied. And the next video, the third and probably final in this series, is going to talk about the ethical implications of the personhood of LaMDA, the conscious computer program. See you there.